Mobile games kind of suck nowadays. And I don't mean the Evoni, the King's Return, and the Hero Wars ads that we see all the time, because trust me, they've been covered already.
Wolves.
Big shout out to William Kitten for having already done this. But if I'm not talking about whatever this slop is and however this got into Discord's quest system, then what am I talking about? I'm talking about the games that get copy and pasted all the time by the big franchises. Take a look at Fallout Shelter on the left, and now look at the storefront for the Walking Dead game. Aren't they a little similar? And you might just say it's a coincidence, but it's been done more than just that. Here's an image from the other Walking Dead game, No Man's Land, and the recent Resident Evil game. Can you even tell what franchise this is? Because it's Godzilla. So are they really all that bad? And are they all copy and pasted of each other? Well, I downloaded a whole lot of them to find out. When you think Resident Evil, do you think about tank controls, inventory management, the horror, or do you think about the newer games and their non-stop action and co-op play? Well, Survival Unit isn't either of those. Now, there is some Resident Evil-like experience in the game, but it's very, very non-existent. When you try to actually get down there to play the Resident Evil experience, you have to level up your mansion. So unless you're willing to wait hours to play the Resident Evil section of your Resident Evil mobile game, you end up spending gems and spending construction speed items. And a lot of them, too. This clip that you see in the background was only 2 minutes long. If I wasn't spending gems to level up my mansion, I might have been grinding for days just for 2 minutes. 2 minutes of content. The real meat and potatoes of this game is just an idle shooter. They're just towers that shoot anything that come by. And sometimes you do a skill. Is this interesting to anyone? Is this exciting? Putting down a barricade and an auto turret and just shooting waves of zombies like it's Left 4 Dead? Resident Evil really didn't need a base building game. I could put this up there with Operation Raccoon City. But if it was just a mobile game where I just played like a Resident Evil game, I think the game would have just been fine. I don't understand why they had to add a Clash of Clans to their Resident Evil game. Of course, that's not to say The Walking Dead doesn't fare any better. If anything, it's much worse. Wow, look at those graphics. Guess AMC didn't want to spend too much on this game. Oh yeah, every time you make one of these games, you gotta have 3 basic supplies. Food, lumber, people. I don't know why, you just gotta have it. Instead of being a tower defense game, No Man's Land is more of a turn-based, grid-based game. I can't really criticize it because The Walking Dead doesn't really have a gameplay formula like Resident Evil does. But they do like to experiment a lot. I mean, they made the Telltale series, Survival Instinct, and is that Destiny's? Oh no. Godzilla! Everyone knows Godzilla. But did you know that he's got a base building game too? You know, unsurprisingly, there's nothing special about this. You build a base, except it's Godzilla themed. Speaking of copying and pasting each other, Godzilla and Resident Evil both have these open worlds where you can raid each other. They just look exactly alike. There was also this game by Disney, Magic Kingdoms, but it wouldn't let me play unless I installed another gigabyte, which I wasn't willing to do. Pokemon Go 10 years ago was a massive game. Everyone was going outside, going to the local shop to catch a Pokemon. Nowadays it needs no introduction. You swipe up at the ball and then you catch them. Sometimes you do a curveball and sometimes you wait. But there are 2 more games that are just like Pokemon Go. With Jurassic World Alive being the least lively of them all. You shoot darts at dinosaurs. I mean, it's nice target practice, but that's about it. As far as I'm aware, no dinosaur changes how they work when you shoot at them. So they all run away and all you do is just line up your shots. There is a battle mode, and you can unlock dinosaurs by getting their DNA by darting them. But each dinosaur only has 2 moves and it's not that fun. I'd also put Monster Hunter Now in the catching minigame, but it's not really that. Monster Hunter Now is probably my favorite variation of these catching games that use your location. even though you're not catching anything. It beats just swiping up all the time to throw Pokeballs or shooting darts at dinosaurs, because you're doing bite-sized bosses that you would see on a console or your computer. We're done with the copy and pasted games, but what about the games that are just themselves? Do you guys remember PUBG? It was one of the first ever mainstream ports to ever catch on. And not only that, but because it was a shooter, the controls just didn't feel right by default. So people started looking for add-ons to make it feel more like a controller like they were used to. So what we did was that we moved the aim and fire buttons to the top of our screens and added these rubber trigger buttons. So there's plenty of ports that come to phones that while they look cool and they run fine, you could tell the controls just weren't made for them. I played the original 360 version of Blood Money, and I swear you could put your shotgun on your back. And this icon looks like you could do that, but apparently that's the throw button. The buttons are also just like really small. Call of Duty Mobile has a weird control scheme. It's not bad, but it's just strange. Your main shoot button also makes you aim, but there's a dedicated aim button as well. So you are always pretty much never going to be using your crosshair. If you want to hip fire, then you have to stop moving because the hip fire button is on the left. So there's really no reason to do it. There's also a jump button that really doesn't see any use because you could just vault over things automatically. You know, you could probably just move the hip fire button to the right, but why would you do that when you could just aim? Destiny Rising is a game that... Hold on. Is that a minigame on a loading screen? I thought they were patented. Oh, it expired. Huh. I've never actually played Destiny, so I don't know if it's a good port or not, but the game itself isn't that bad. Same control scheme as Call of Duty Mobile, so you aim and shoot with the button on the right, and there's a hip fire on the left that we never use, because why would you ever want to stop moving to hip fire? Also, I messed up a double jump here. No fault of the game, I just thought it was really funny to keep in.
Give me a minute, Wolf. No problem.
The tutorial also had this boss fight that I didn't care for, so I started punching it the entire time. Persona 5X was supposed to be on this list of ports too, but I didn't feel like downloading it. And then downloading it again. But just look at the in-app images, you could tell it's just Persona 5. They've even got the Morgana car for the dungeon runs. That's not me saying Phantom X is bad because it's a port on the phone. I think RPGs are the best thing you could play on a phone. I was also planning to play Angry Birds Epic, but it got cancelled. Genshin Impact is a port that I put on the list for a completely different reason than every other port. I call this the reverse port because you could tell it was made for mobile and then ported to PC and console. You've got one attack button, one skill button, and the controls just don't feel good when you're playing on a controller or on your keyboard. Much like other Hoyoverse games, the controls just feel so clunky because they're so simple in a world that's so complex. I mean, just look at it. Such a big wild land, and all you do is attack, then skill, then ult, then switch character, then ult again. I say other Hoyoverse games, I mean like Zenless Zone Zero. You could see it here too. Here's attack, here's skill, here's your dashing dodge, here's your ult, and here's your switch character. Here's footage of me playing Zenless. It's the same thing with a little bit more emphasis on switching characters. But it's still the same. You ult, then you switch, and then you start attacking until you get your ult back. Not to say fighting combos are bad in mobile games. Devil May Cry is still pretty good. Sure, you still switch between 2 different characters, or 3. But you don't have to. You can see me doing aerial combos just with one character. Even though it's the same gameplay formula, in which you have a skill, this time being Dante's Stinger, and your Devil Breaker being your ult, it just feels better. You can throw people up by holding the attack button with your aerial launch, and the combos just feel so much better than these flashy moves that ZZZ has. At least in Devil May Cry's case, I understand, because you're doing a lot of joystick movements when you're trying to input attacks. You're trying to move forward when you want to do Stinger, you're trying to do back and forward to do a launch. Also, just take a look at this tutorial.
Devil Hunter's ultimate skill and become Devil Trigger. Devil Trigger demonic retaliate ultimate.
Stalling games. You guys know the ones. The ones where you have limited amounts of energy and you spend them each time you play a level. Even if you fail the level or win, you still lose one. They're usually pretty big games, but they're shortened into small episodic levels that take maybe around 2 minutes to complete each. When I say they are big games with small levels, I mean there's a lot of small levels, which makes the stamina system just all that worse. Of course, the stamina system is there just to make money. You need gems to buy onigiri, which of course is going to cost you a lot of money. Usually in the first half of these games, you're well off good, but once you get to the second half, it becomes overwhelmingly hard. Next up is Last Day on Earth, which is actually kind of a nice game. Which, I know it sounds like a copy and paste of every other zombie game on the App Store, but this one has 100 million downloads. I've got a love-hate relationship with this game because of one simple mechanic. Zombies can break down your house because it's an online-only game. Which means that if you don't come back after a long time, then your house is pretty much gone. Imagine playing Rust or Ark Survival Evolved, and you decide to take a 2-week break. Well, every player can now just offline raid you because your walls are gone and decaying. Here's the worst part about the game though. You have this map where you can go to hills or other people's bases, and you have this god-awful mechanic of stamina. Look at this. 8 seconds to run, which costs stamina, or 11 minutes to walk. Alright, now that we're done looting this place, let's go back home. Oh wait, unless I spend stamina, I'm gonna have to spend a quarter of an hour to get back home. Seriously? Also, as I said earlier, you can raid people and there is PvP, so this happened. You should already know what this means. If you don't have the stamina to run back to your corpse, someone's gonna loot it or it's gonna despawn and you're gonna lose everything that you had because you took 20 minutes to walk back. But if you die, you could always spend a little money or you could do an ad to get it all back. The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker actually had a copy on mobile, and it was called Oceanhorn, and it wasn't that bad. I mean, you've got your standard stuff like harassing NPCs, killing enemies with random objects you found, going in the water with a boat like it's Wind Waker, and like any Zelda game because it's Nintendo, not paying for it. Since I'm on the free trial, I expected an ad, but there weren't any. So if you want a full-on Zelda experience without emulating or buying a Switch, this could work. There was also this game, Chronos Dungeon. It was pretty fun, but you get smashed in the face with hundreds of ads anytime you go down a floor of the dungeon, so... Cats has ads, but it's fun. Just by the title screen alone, I think you could tell what the objective is. You gotta kill people! You gotta ram your car to theirs until they blow up and die! Oh, well there's the ad. Kingdom Hearts, one of my favorite series, has 2 mobile games. Well, it had 2. Then they also tried to make a 3rd one, but it got canned. Unlike every other Kingdom Hearts games, you're not styling on enemies in real time. Instead, you're trying to mix and match cards to do as much damage as possible. Which, for a Disney game, yeah, alright, it works. I'm surprised they didn't port over mobile games like Chain of Memories, Coded, 358/2, or the VSync game. You know what, on second thought, maybe they shouldn't have done that. We're talking about Limbus Company. I'm just a tourist who's never played a Project Moon game in their life, and I'm only playing this to have it on this video. But so far it's been fun. I've been totally not mismanaging my centers this whole time. Limbus Company is a gacha, but so far I've been playing with just the base characters and they've been doing just fine. So this is only Kanto 2 out of 7. Unlike Kingdom Hearts where you go against one foe with multiple cards, you have 2 attacks for each center on the field and there's multiple enemies. Most of this game's difficulty and complexity comes from all the status debuffs and buffs, so you might need to be able to read for this one. We made it to the end of the video. There were some other games I was planning to use, but they didn't work. One of them being Dragalia Lost. I had actually played this one, I think 2 to 3 years ago when I was younger, but, well, the service is gone and it's possible to see now. They couldn't even do the Kingdom Hearts thing where they just made it so that you could see at least the cutscenes. So I guess you gotta go to YouTube if you want to know what it was like to play it. I was also going to try Disney Mirrorverse because the advertisements looked cool, but it didn't work at all. There's also other games that I didn't showcase, as you might have seen with the Red X. Those are just games I didn't feel like playing for one reason or another. Modern Combat 5 has stamina. Isolation, I'm just kind of a scaredy cat. I already said I didn't want to download P5X for the second time. By the way, everything I had installed was a free game, but there are some paid games that I want to look at, mostly just Rockstar. If you don't know, Red Dead Redemption came to mobile some time ago. Look at this price hike! $5 up to $40? What? And you might say Red Dead Redemption is a newer game, but look at this. If you remember the definitive scandal, you'll know that this is not worth 20 bucks. Which leads me to all my takeaways. Now, you might be asking, hi, what info do you want from these games? Well, I'm looking to make a Resident Evil / Metal Gear Solid inspired stealth game, and I need to monetize it. The best stealth game that we have on phones is Stealth Master. We also have Robbery Bob, but that came out in 2015. Kind of like Chronos Dungeon, every time you get to the next level, there's an ad, so it gets annoying fast unless you pay a little microtransaction to get rid of it. But the reason I like Stealth Master more than Robbery Bob is because of a technique they use. They place these unobtrusive ads in the game world itself that you don't have to interact with. Other older games used to do this too. Where's My Water 2 did it, where you have an ad at the bottom, it pops up and then disappears. And it's so much better than having a video pop up and then force you to watch it. So one of my takeaways is to not have video ads forced down your throat. If you remember me showcasing cats, then you might also remember how many fights I had to go through before I saw my first ad. The stamina system is okay in some games, but I don't understand why you should lose it if you win. It should be more like a life system. Another thing I learned is how many buttons that should be on your screen is directly tied to how complex your mechanics are. In this RE4 mobile port, you can see that the shoot button, the knife button, tell Ashley what to and what not to do, and sometimes kick if you hit the head. Now look at Resident Evil 4's remake on the iPhone. There's so many buttons. This is obviously something you should be avoiding at all costs when making a game, is just adding too many buttons and keybinds to the point where you don't even know what you're doing anymore. But it's a good thing to know that sometimes you should just use one unified interact button. There's one last takeaway that I have from all of this. That's to make the game not feel like a phone game. We're going back to the survival instinct for this, and it's because when you shoot the zombies, they don't really stagger. They only stop when they're waiting until the next attack, but you could just keep shooting them and they don't really do anything. It just feels cheap. This is a lesser thing that has nothing to do with my takeaways, but here's a reason why fixed camera angles kind of suck. When you switch camera angles, your analog stick or your controls don't move with it. So you could see I'm going one direction and the joystick is pointing in a different direction. But it's fixed as soon as I leave into the hallway. So that is something I might have to fix in my game if I ever make it. If I make another video, it'll be about Roblox and Dandy's World. More specifically, it and its clones, because they all fit the stealth quote-unquote horror scene, which of course I'm trying to make, but that's not likely.